Okay, so Zone 10 just released, and with it came about 10 years off my lifespan trying to complete towers on 30 frames. Anyway, today I'll rank every tower here from worst to best. It's worth mentioning that all of the soul crushings above insane I only all jump instead of completing them regularly. Anyways, before we start, we're getting close to 4k subscribers, and I want to get there by the end of the month, and only 20% of people that watch these videos are actually subscribed. Anyway, let's go with my terrible opinions, shall we? Okay, so this is so low down on the list, mainly just because while I was playing it, I couldn't help but think, where the hell am I? Starts off normal, and then you go into like the abyss for a bit, go do some stuff, then go back. There's no continuity in it at all, and it just left me confused, man. And the main mechanic of this tower are these boxes that you can infinite jump in. They're very buggy and don't really work, because sometimes it just doesn't let you jump at all. There's also vines that are shaped weird. No, that's it. They're just normal vines. They're just like a square now. The gameplay wasn't really very interesting either. Very boring tower in my opinion. It's the first tower in Zone 10, and wow, this completely kills your expectations. The first time I beat this was in EToH, and I heard it had changed a bit, and somehow it got worse from my memory. First off, I hate how the little boost parts looks like. What is this even meant to be? Also, design on the first two sections for me is just so ugly. Just kind of looks like there was no real plan or theme, but they just kind of decided to just build something anyway. Also, it's going to become a recurring theme for the towers here, but this is so hard to sight read. It's mostly because of the elevators that move every time you jump on them. Oh yeah, there's nothing really very creative either. It's just regular gameplay you'd expect from a Zone 10 tower with flip parts everywhere. Anyway, yeah, next tower. Hopefully there's a little bit more to talk about. Not gonna lie, it's important to say before I talk about this tower, but when I played it, I was playing at like 10 frames. This tower is split into 4 sections. Spring, autumn, winter, and you guessed it, the abyss. Overall, this tower is just a lot of dialogue that I don't think anyone has ever read. All I can remember from the quote-unquote lore is like, you get this frog, and then they like arrest someone or something, and they get abducted by aliens for good measure. There's nothing much to shout about, although there are seat parts which aren't insanely common, I suppose. I wrote this script like a week ago, since before I played all the towers. That is no longer true. This just kind of feels like some Silent Abyss JToH crossover. The design is nice, although it definitely is not unique, and the gameplay is good. This is just kind of another solid tower that's just kind of there. But I'll be honest, compared to some of the other towers, I don't mind this one as much. The thing is, this tower doesn't really try to step outside of its bubble and do something really cool like some of the others do, which is good, because most of the others create something absolutely awful, but it does lose some score on design and creativity. Oh yeah, and by the way, sorry to the person that made this, but I hate how this tower looks. It's similar to TORL's design, and I just really don't like it. I think it's a bit of an acquired taste sort of thing, and my god, I do not have that acquired taste. As far as mechanics, they're all the same as we've seen before, apart from these blue things which you can jump on the end of. Oh yeah, and by the way, this is a jump part, this is a seat part. Okay, so it's time to play Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. What is this? No, seriously, what the hell is this? Oh, okay. Other than that, the final stretch isn't insanely hard like some of the other towers, and the ending is cool. It kind of suffers from the same problem as TVP and lots of the towers actually. The mechanics are all pretty similar to other towers apart from these ones that slow down and speed up time, but they basically work the same as speed and low gravity parts. Gets its creativity score mostly from the uniqueness of the design actually, but I'm still not too keen on the design. Oh yeah, and the last few throws are over nothing, yet again for absolutely no reason. I know this is probably towards the start or not past the middle of the video, but I'm scripting these right after I beat them, and this is towards the end. It just feels like I've played the same tower over and over again. Tower of the Spotted Fortress is a whole trip in itself, and an even longer trip if you got to play it on like 40 frames. You start off in just what looks like a regular tower, but halfway through you go to this netted section to like destroy this heart. As far as gameplay goes, it's alright. The mechanics are a bit basic though, although I do like the speedrun sections where you have to keep your jump. The design's okay, but other than that, it's just kind of there. Thank God for the nets past 4.6, otherwise this would have been a struggle with how much lag I had. Also, how was this intense at one point? I'm so mixed on this tower, I honestly don't know. First of all, one thing that I do know is that this tower is way too long to be so punishing. Sure, after floor 6 the punishment slows, but still, if this is your first run like it was mine, when you first get there you've probably spent about an hour or so. The main gimmick of this tower is that you receive various superhuman-esque powers that helps you traverse obstacles that wouldn't be possible normally. There's way too many for me to go through them all, but just know that this one is my favourite because you can kind of recreate the Spider-Man meme with it. The tower's design on the first 4 floors isn't incredible, but after that it looks a bit nicer. One final thing, in the first couple of floors there is so much filler and backtracking, it's really annoying. It genuinely feels like I backtrack an entire hour just to get one button to open the door. Anyway, that's it. Good in theory, but not really done very well. Tower 1234 was the first tower I got to play in this area where it didn't feel like my computer was on fire, burning my house down, and probably the surrounding neighbourhood as well. Overall, this tower is fun, but just again lacks that uniqueness that makes it memorable. This is shown I'm writing this script because I played the Tower of Mach 9 and this tower 2 days ago, yet Mach 9's script is substantially longer than this one. The tower's design uses that opposite colour scheme that EToH players have had to get used to over the past 2 years or so. There's also a weird frame, I guess. As far as mechanics go, there's nothing too special. It used a lot of jump paths and elevators, but there are these cool boxes that bind you to create some riveting puzzles, such as walk around for 5 minutes, give up, search up a guide, and pretend like you just had the ultimate eureka moment figured out for continuity purposes in the video. Ah! I see. There are also these weird corkscrews that appear from time to time for some reason, and there's also these sections where you have to navigate your way through random parts. The tower isn't very punishing, even if the final floor looks like it. Anyway, yeah, that's it. It's decent, I suppose. I'm not gonna lie, I'm usually so for Chloe towers, but this citadel is so punishing that when I failed the final floor, I was half expecting Chloe to personally come over to my house and shoot me in the back of the head. 7 of the floors in this citadel are instant kills if you fall, so yeah, that's cool, I guess. You start in this weird like suite area and then you go to a void thing, which is where you spend most of your time in the citadel. And Chloe better be thankful that I think this looks cool, otherwise this citadel would be way further down on the list. Oh my god. It's also never been done before, so this got a high score on design and creativity. As far as mechanic go, it mostly uses these flip parts and double jump parts, so it is a little unoriginal, but it uses them better than most of the towers in the area. Because of the punishment, there's no way in hell this tower is ranked, so there's that too. Overall, it's still probably one of the better REMs in the area, but given how much I like Chloe stuff, I was really disappointed by this. Oh my god, please. Tower of Valiant Verges is a prequel to Lean Legends and Ring 4 and the sequel to Wicked Wedges and Zone 4. I thought Gooseful Fan was going to wait until World 3's 4th area came out before they did another one of these, but I guess he couldn't wait that long. The tower seems to use different mechanics every floor, so I'm just going to go through the more memorable ones. Floor 1 is basically a racetrack with speed, floor 5 you have to get some balls onto a track to lift a platform, and floor 6 you're usually on vine swings on tracks navigating obstacles. The design is alright, but it's pretty basic and nothing really outside the norm we see nowadays. It doesn't really have much resemblance from the older towers in the trilogy anyway. The mechanics previously mentioned are alright, but again there's nothing really too much to write home about, and that's the same for the gameplay as well. What I can respect though is the boss fight at the end replicating the 10 challenges featured in the first tower all those years ago. This boss fight is pretty difficult though, required me to use my crystal to save me for probably the first time in about 2 years when I completed it. The tower ends with some nice references to the previous renditions and finishes the trilogy with a cool credit slide thingamabob. Overall, a bit underwhelming but still good. Okay, so it's probably quite important to mention that I suck at client objects, so this is probably still a bit outside of my difficulty range, but anyway, what I can say is that this tower looks incredible, and I think everyone can agree with that. It uses these parts that boost you and these other ones that like slow your fall a bit. I'm not entirely sure what they actually do, but you don't fall as fast, so that's cool, I guess. This tower, yet again, is very punishing, which is understandable for a cadder, but it's kind of a shame the last 3 cadders that we've got in the game are all really punishing. I can't really judge the gameplay that well because I only all jumped it, but I feel like if I did grind this, I would get pretty demotivated pretty quickly. It does feel like the tower gets harder as it goes on, and just as if it wasn't hard enough, on floor 9 and 10 you have some guy absolutely screaming your ears out, so that's nice.
Brother, what? Okay.
I also like how some towers have got so punishing now that an outside on the end of floor 10 is no longer a final stretch. You have to have an outside sectioned off from floor 10 to call it one. Also, is this just me, but this feels way harder than TOCP. Generally, beating this on 30 frames while my PC disintegrated around me is probably one of my biggest achievements in this game. Overall, this tower would have been pretty fun if this wasn't the case, but it was, so bad luck, I guess. The tower starts off with 3 floors with a decent amount of button progress on 1 and 2, but midway through floor 3, you have to get 2 keys, both taking you 2 floors to complete. You don't have to do one of the routes after you complete it, but you have to do parts of the other one if you fall to then reach floor 8 and 9. These floors are fairly easy apart from this one absolutely diabolical timing on floor 8. As far as mechanics go, there's these stupid lift jumps, which is probably my least favorite mechanic used in towers I've played as of writing this script, so yeah. Just like half the time, it just doesn't work. The main problem for me is that floor 3 just feels like a massive difficulty spike for me, or maybe that's just the lag, I don't know. Anyway, I find myself just failing this floor for 10 minutes just to get past and then fail 6 or 7. Decent tower, but this needs low detail mode so badly. I've got to be honest, this tower is really good. I got a bit laggy towards the end, but for a length through Remorseless tower, this one actually does punishment exactly right. It's punishing for the first 5 floors, but after that it ups the difficulty and adds a net underneath. It uses these orbs and flip things pretty uniquely, and the design is incredible, and the netted final stretch is a nice ending too. Apart from when I was stuck at floor 6 for what felt like an eternity, then I died, I thought this was a really good tower despite me getting a bit laggy towards the end. Definitely worth a play, but I'd only give it a go if you've got at least maybe 2 hours for catter players and above, and even more if you're anything less, as this can be a little tricky to sight read at times. I'm pretty sure this is the longest soul crushing in JToH, although I'm not entirely sure. First of all, let's get this out of the way before I start talking about this tower, because my opinions are definitely mixed. This tower's raw gameplay is some of the best for me personally. It's very similar to No Return in sense of mechanics and rats, but still has its own twists on them. The only problem I have with this tower is that it's very punishing. There's a whole 2 sides that's completely over nothing, and various other smaller sections that do the same. This probably makes it so that this would be horrible to grind the new hardest, but if you're a Terrifying Plus player, it's a nice challenge. The design isn't really there, but it doesn't look bad either. Overall, it's a fun tower, but only for people that have enough skill to beat it in no more than about 3 attempts. Also, where it's not punishing, there's a lot of button progress as well, which is nice. Finally something different, oh my god. Right, so this tower is basically designed for me to enjoy. It's actually kind of crazy. This tower is almost entirely speedrun floors, bar floor 1 and 6. Given I'm a bit of a speedrunner myself, this is definitely my sort of tower. The only problem I have with it is that if you die, you fail the speedrun, which is a massive run killer in tower rushes. Design isn't really there compared to other Cloy towers, but it's not ugly by any means. The times are fairly lenient for the first time playing the tower, and this is one of the few towers in the era which are actually okay to sight read. I can see why people don't like this tower though, because it's kind of like an acquired taste, if you get me. I started my opening journey speedrunning Fully Escape 2 and Tower of Hell for a while, so it was right up my street, but if you don't have any experience of speedrunning, I can see people struggling on this, although I do think the difficulty is accurate. One thing you can say is that this is very creative, obviously, given it's never really been done before, so I gave it a 5 out of 5 on the creativity scale. Ends with a nice break from the speedrunning in these elevator drops, and then like some Ninja Warrior inspired tower at the end. The gameplay of this tower is probably no harder than hard difficulty, but the time is fairly tight if you're sight reading, so it definitely keeps you on your toes. Oh my god, this is gonna be... Oh my god! Jesus Christ! Anyway, I really enjoyed this if you couldn't tell, and it was a nice break from all the really long towers. Well, this was a nice surprise. When I'm writing this, I don't actually know whether this is number 1 or not, but I can't see any of the 2 towers I've got left overtaking this. First of all, the gameplay of this is completely unmatched to anything else in this zone, and perhaps even the game. There's a long mid-difficulty tower actually done right, guys. I know it's crazy. There's some good mechanics like these cars that boost you and these seats which are used quite well. There's other mechanics as well similar to ones in other towers, but it doesn't make it way too complicated like lots of them do, which is nice. First 5 floors gameplay wise could do with a bit of polish, but apart from that this is perfect in that department. Floors 7 and 9 like Valiant Verges kind of have their own quest to them. 7 you need to collect batteries to power a lift. 8 you're in this construction zone where if you fall 3 times your safety net is gone, but there's checkpoints around the outside as well to make it not as punishing. And floor 9 where you have to guide your cable car through various tracks and stuff. Floor 10 though is where this tower really shines. This is probably my favourite floor in all of JToH, to be honest. This is so good. I mean, just look at this. It's smooth to play, it's got a nice tune to it. This is what we need after long towers, just somewhere to relax for once. There's literally a Ferris wheel, like what? Anyway, somehow despite playing on like 40 frames, I actually managed to enjoy this, so well done Duke fan, or how, I really hope that's how you pronounce your name, I'm so sorry. Overall, personally, I know we got this quicker than Zone 9, but this is a step down from Zone 9. I just think most of the towers were way too similar to be in the same area. Lots of them were way too long. Anyway, that's my ranking. Comment your opinions below, but please be respectful of other people because they might also think Mach 9 is really good. Thank you to my members on screen. Sorry for not uploading last week. Have a good weekend. Goodbye, everyone.